The Galactic Council was accustomed to new civilizations bursting onto the galactic stage, eager to display their prowess. Whether through technology, culture, or raw power, each emerging race seemed determined to earn a place through some bold show of strength or achievement. Yet, when humanity arrived, the Council wasn't greeted by the usual fanfare or bravado. Instead, humanity's introduction to the Council was quiet, uncharacteristically humble. The Council had first picked up human transmissions, which were filled with debates, philosophy, even art. But alongside these was something unexpected: accounts of war told with a raw, palpable horror. Most Council members found this strange. War, to them, was either a regrettable necessity or a grand pursuit of honor. But humans spoke of it with fear. With reverence, almost as if war was something to be kept at arm's length. The Council meeting chamber hummed as discussions began about the newcomers. Each representative took turns voicing their opinions. The Zythar delegate, a massive, scaled being who wore her scars as badges of honor, sneered as she listened to recordings of humanity's broadcasts. Afraid of war? She scoffed, her voice grating over the translation units. We need allies, not cowards. Others on the Council disagreed. The avian ambassador, an ethereal being cloaked in light, found humanity's stance refreshing. Perhaps they have wisdom we've yet to understand. Look at the diversity in their culture, the complexities of their history. But most of the Council leaned toward skepticism. They had seen it before: a weak civilization, fearful and passive, ripe for exploitation. Perhaps humans were simply another species in need of protection, or domination. Sitting toward the back of the chamber, an unobtrusive figure watched, a slight frown creasing his face. Ethan Ross, Earth's primary diplomat to the Council, was quiet and calculating. He observed the debates unfolding around him, making mental notes on each delegate's stance and tone. He could sense their condescension. Even after humanity's polite entry into Council proceedings, they still looked upon Earth as something soft, something that could be molded or controlled. When Ethan finally stood to address the Council, the room grew silent. He was unarmed, dressed simply, and his expression remained calm and respectful. Esteemed Council members, he began, his voice even. We are deeply honored by your invitation. Humanity has traveled far and endured much to be here, to stand among you as partners. Our hope is for peace and collaboration. The Zythar delegate gave an exaggerated yawn, her gaze fixed on him with predatory amusement. And tell us, human, she interrupted, what does your species bring to our Council? Stories? Songs? Or are you here only to beg for protection? There was a ripple of amusement among some of the other delegates. But Ethan's composure didn't falter. He met the Zythar's gaze steadily. We bring our experience, Ambassador, he replied. And our willingness to cooperate. We bring knowledge of survival through resilience, not just of individual or cultural strength but of unity. Humanity has known peace, but we've also known conflict more intense than most civilizations might survive. Ah yes, interrupted the Ordai diplomat, a tall, crystalline figure who vibrated with each word. Your species seems haunted by war if we are to believe your transmissions. But you speak of it as though it's a ghost, something you fear rather than understand. Are humans truly so naive, so afraid of conflict? For a moment, Ethan was silent, as though considering his answer carefully. We are cautious, yes. We value peace not because we are afraid of war but because we know it intimately. Our history has given us many reasons to avoid unnecessary conflict. He paused, allowing his words to settle among the Council members. We do not seek war because we understand the cost of it better than most. The quiet honesty in his tone gave some of the delegates pause, though Zythar's sneer remained unyielding. So you say, she said dismissively, waving a clawed hand. But words are cheap, human. Another alien voice piped up, a representative from a younger species that had recently joined the Council. And if war finds you, if one of our enemies sees you as prey, would you beg for mercy then? Ethan's eyes sharpened slightly. If war finds us, he said, with a faint, almost imperceptible shift in his tone, humanity will respond in the way we must. We have learned from centuries of loss, and while we avoid war, we are not without our defenses. The Council murmured. Many saw it as bravado, the kind of thing they had seen from species who still clung to illusions of strength. But for those who listened closely, there was something unsettling in the diplomat's calm words. A quiet promise, wrapped in humanity's humble approach. As the meeting adjourned, the Council members dispersed, some amused, others indifferent, yet a few with growing curiosity. The Zythar delegate strode past Ethan, glaring down at him. Your words are a pretty shield, human, she sneered. But I wonder, can they protect you? Ethan didn't flinch, meeting her gaze coolly. We appreciate your concern, Ambassador, he replied, but we'll manage. Watching from the shadows was a figure cloaked in darkness, a silent observer who had watched the entire exchange with keen, calculating eyes. He'd heard the calm in Ethan's voice, the subtle, chilling certainty that hinted at something far more dangerous beneath humanity's peaceful facade. The plan was simple. The Zythar delegate, along with her allies among the Council's more aggressive factions, decided humanity needed a test to see if they could truly stand among galactic powers. Their plan: stage a pirate raid on a distant human outpost, pushing them just enough to see how they'd respond. For the Zythar, it was a matter of principle. She saw humanity's words as the bluster of a weakling and was eager to expose their supposed strength as nothing more than bravado. Outpost SETI 12, a small research station orbiting a frozen planet on the edge of human space, became their target. Operatives from several Council species, skilled in guerrilla tactics, infiltrated the station's defenses. They began by hacking its communication channels, jamming any outgoing transmissions. Within moments, the human personnel on the outpost realized they were under attack. At first, the humans did what the Zythar expected. They tried to negotiate. Over the intercom, the station's commander, a steady-voiced woman named Captain Mira Harlow, attempted to reach out. "This is a civilian research station," she announced. "We mean you no harm. We request an immediate ceasefire and dialogue." The attackers scoffed, interpreting this as a plea for mercy. Their leader, a tall, insectoid captain from the aggressive Acloni species, sneered as he ordered his troops to advance. "Typical," he muttered to his crew. "The humans cower." But just as his troops moved in, the outpost's lights dimmed, plunging the corridors into darkness. Emergency sirens echoed through the halls, followed by a chilling silence. The Acloni captain hesitated, feeling an unexpected unease. He'd expected humans to resist poorly, to be panicked or disorderly. But this quiet, this eerie stillness, felt like something else entirely. Then, in the shadows, the humans struck. They moved swiftly, deploying silent drones and automated defense turrets that fired in perfect coordination. The attackers, caught off guard, scrambled for cover as the humans advanced with precision. Captain Harlow's voice came over the intercom again, no longer asking for peace. "You attacked us without provocation. Now you'll see what it means to corner humans." The Zythar and her allies, observing from afar, watched the battle unfold through live feeds. What they saw unsettled them. This wasn't the disorganized scramble they'd expected. Instead, the humans fought with ruthless efficiency, using the narrow corridors of the outpost to their advantage, funneling the attackers into traps and choke points. For every step the invaders took, they paid in casualties. In less than an hour, the attackers had been routed, forced to retreat with their ranks decimated. Some barely escaped, boarding their ships in panicked haste as they fled human space. The Zythar watched with simmering rage, her claws digging into her seat. How could humans who seemed so adverse to war fight with such skill? Back at the outpost, Captain Harlow stood among her crew, who were recovering and treating their wounded. She contacted Earth, relaying a report of the incident to Ethan Ross, the diplomat. "We encountered unexpected hostiles," she stated calmly, "and neutralized the threat. They underestimated us." Ethan listened quietly, a faint smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "Good work, Captain," he replied. "I suspect they'll think twice before trying that again." But he knew the Council would not easily give up their tests. In their eyes, humanity had just moved from prey to something far more interesting and dangerous. The Council meeting chamber was tense as delegates gathered to discuss the recent incident at Outpost SETI 12. Officially, it was a pirate attack, but everyone knew who was behind it. The Zythar and her allies sat smugly, though tension flickered across their faces. They had expected humanity to falter or beg for protection, not to turn the tables with such brutal efficiency. When Ethan Ross, humanity's quiet diplomat, entered the chamber, a ripple went through the room. He walked calmly to the center, his gaze steady, acknowledging the Council with a respectful nod. "Honorable Council members," he began, "thank you for the opportunity to address this recent misunderstanding." The Zythar delegate's voice sliced through the room. "Misunderstanding? Your people responded to a minor scuffle with unnecessary force." She feigned innocence, though her eyes gleamed with barely concealed anger. "Is this how humans approach conflict? With brutality?" Ethan paused, his expression measured. "Our people were defending a civilian outpost. They did what they had to do to protect their own. The avian ambassador, a more moderate voice in the council, leaned forward, eyes curious. "Tell us, human," he asked, "what makes your people so reluctant to fight? We have seen your broadcasts, your history. Why this apparent aversion to war?" Ethan exhaled softly as if he'd anticipated the question. "Because we understand what war does, to our people, to our worlds. We've spent centuries fighting among ourselves, learning hard lessons from conflicts that nearly destroyed us." He continued, his voice steady but carrying a weight the council couldn't ignore. "On our homeworld we faced wars so vast they scarred entire generations. Our most powerful weapons, once unleashed, left nothing but desolation in their wake. Entire cities vanished in moments and with them millions of lives. Our planet still bears the marks of those wars." The room was silent. This was more than most civilizations faced in their histories. The concept of mutually assured destruction, of choosing restraint not out of fear but out of understanding its devastating consequences, was new to many of them. "Humans seek peace not because we are weak," Ethan continued, "but because we know the cost of war all too well. We know that, once started, a conflict can spiral beyond control. And we value the lives of our people too much to risk that, unless we have no other choice." The Ordai diplomat who had supported the Zythar's plan, now looked uncomfortable. "And yet," he said, attempting to maintain his composure, "you handled this situation with surprising efficiency. A civilian outpost defended like a military fortress?" Ethan met the Ordai's gaze with a slight, knowing smile. "We are prepared to defend ourselves if forced. The lives of our people are not bargaining chips." The Zythar delegate's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. In Ethan's calm response she sensed something deeper, a warning. Humanity's willingness to fight might be restrained, but it was no less formidable for it. As the meeting adjourned, Ethan turned to leave, his expression unchanging. The council was left with a profound realization. Humanity, beneath its quiet diplomacy, was no stranger to the horrors of war. Their peace was not born from fear but from strength, an understanding of what they were capable of if pushed. And the council, for the first time, understood that humanity's peaceful demeanor was not a shield but a choice. A choice they might regret forcing them to reconsider. The council chamber was buzzing with tension. Rumors spread that one of the council's more hostile factions, fearing humanity's potential, had decided to take matters into their own hands. A fleet had been sent directly toward Earth, bypassing diplomacy entirely. To the aggressors, it was a preemptive strike, one they were certain would crush any lingering human resolve. But as the fleet approached Earth's orbit, they were met with an unexpected sight. Hundreds of human ships, standing ready in a protective ring around their homeworld. The aggressors had assumed they'd find a fractured defense, a species still building its space capability. Instead, humanity's fleet was poised with calm precision, as if waiting for this exact moment. On board one of the lead human ships, Captain Mira Harlow, who had defended Outpost SETI-12, took command with icy focus. She activated the communication channels, her voice carrying across to the approaching fleet. "You have entered restricted space. This is a final warning. Retreat immediately, or face the full might of humanity's defenses." The fleet hesitated. Their commanders hadn't expected such resistance, much less this level of organization. As they hovered, calculating their options, Earth's ships made a silent, intimidating formation shift, closing in with a perfect, unyielding symmetry. The message was clear. This was no untrained race hoping for survival. Humanity was more than ready. Aboard the Council's observation deck, delegates watched the live transmission with growing alarm. The Zythar delegate's smug expression was now one of quiet dread. The calm confidence she had seen in Ethan Ross was manifesting as a coordinated defense that put many veteran species to shame. Then the screen filled with Ethan's face, his gaze steady and unreadable. He spoke directly to the Council. "Esteemed members, this hostile fleet has come unprovoked to our homeworld. We did not ask for this conflict, and we take no pleasure in its necessity. But make no mistake, if we are forced to defend our people, we will do so with all the strength we have." A tense silence hung over the council chamber as they processed the implication. The quiet, restrained diplomat they had underestimated now carried the weight of an entire species' promise. Even the Zythar looked shaken, realizing that what she had provoked was something far more dangerous than she had imagined. Back in Earth's orbit, the hostile fleet, outmaneuvered and overwhelmed, began a rapid retreat. The human ships didn't pursue. They merely held position, a quiet, disciplined line of defense that left no question of their intent. The message was clear: humanity would not strike first, but they would never yield. As the transmission ended, Ethan faced the council, his expression softening but his message resolute. We have endured too much to be goaded into unnecessary wars. We seek peace, but that peace will be maintained on our terms. Any who challenge that will find us ready. The council members for once were speechless. They had glimpsed the depth of humanity's resolve, a species that knew the horror of war and had chosen peace, not from weakness but from strength. As Ethan left the chamber, the council understood that humanity's entry into the galaxy would not be marked by submission, but by a choice, a declaration of their terms. In that moment, the galaxy's perception of humanity shifted irreversibly. Humanity's peaceful facade was no longer a mask to be dismissed but a deliberate stance. And for the first time, the Galactic Council was truly uncertain about how to proceed.